Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you. Friedrich Nietzsche. All right, welcome to another morning episode of the Liberty Dad podcast, a discussion on politics and culture. If you're tuning in live, I want to especially thank you for giving me your time so early. And let me tell you, this episode, I may get myself canceled. Okay. And I'm willing to risk it. Now you might think, okay, DL, he's trying to make a joke. No. I'm not making a joke. In just a moment, I'm gonna play for you. I'm gonna show you. Well, I'm not gonna show, but I'm gonna play a video of an abortion. Now, some of you are gonna get angry at me, and again, I'm willing to take that risk because it is the right thing to do. There are times when good people need to stand up and say something and kind of risk their own selves. And we do that so that we may have a better society. Because right now, we have some problems. So that video, well, let's get right into it. Let's not wait. Let's not delay, right? I'm not going to try to lead like a whole spiel and get you all worked up and then get angry at me, before I even play the video. No, we'll play it right now. Let's get on it. And then we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to have some very serious words um that again, people are just going to be very angry. So here we go. All right, that's not the video. That's not, why these videos never want to play. How about that?
Are you Darcy Waldron? Yeah. Okay, from Cayuga. And you think that the shooter should have been a better shot? Is that what you posted on Facebook? You think that the shooter should have been a shooter, huh? Yeah, I think that's pretty messed up. Pretty anti-American, if you ask me. As a veteran, I'm disgusted. What have you provided to this country? Huh? I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. You are ridiculous. And I'm making you famous.
Wow. Now you probably might have thought, like, DL, you're gonna play like the sounds of an abortion. No. It's a bit metaphorical here. And how am I gonna make people angry? Because that video, the man in there talking about I'm a veteran, I'm gonna make you famous. Are you this person from Facebook? That is every bit an abortion when it comes to freedom of speech. And I'm disgusted as well. I think this man, I'm disgusted by him. I don't know who he is. I don't know his name. I don't know if he actually was a service member. Maybe he was, maybe he's not. But I think the entirety of that video is disgusting. And I think of it as an abortion when it comes to the First Amendment. Now, let's be clear about something. When we talk about the First Amendment, a lot of people will say, well, the First Amendment, do you like the moment somebody shuts down somebody else's speech, somebody else, comes along and says, oh, I guess you don't care about freedom of speech. Now, let's be clear what freedom of speech is between you and your government. Okay. So it's like if I own a store and I tell you that you can't say these things, or if I say I'll fire you if you talk about these things online, right? Whatever. That's not a freedom of speech issue. You have Like that is a contract, like me saying, I will associate with you, hire you, keep you employed under these conditions if you do these things, right? And I agree with that. I have no issue with that. And that's not a violation of your freedom of speech. But when it comes to freedom of speech, I think what Americans have kind of lost sight of is that there are two components. You might think of it as the letter of the law, if you will, versus the spirit of it. The letter of the law is what can be done legally, right? And that generally is your government. When it comes to your government cannot restrict your freedom of speech. But then the spirit of the law says, what do we want as a society? What I want as a society is not one where people find some distasteful comment and then go hunt somebody down, videotape them while they're at their job, and post it online. Now, what did the woman say? It's probably pretty clear. She had made some comments in the aftermath of the President Trump, being shot, the almost assassination. So let me pull up the comment, because it got this. This all came from social media. All right. So here's the comment, and I'm gonna, you might not be able to see it, but this is a graphic. So it's got the video on the left of her, and it says Darcy Waldron Pickney, make this woman famous, Home Depot, Auburn. And so then we see that it's unclear. This woman apparently commented on somebody else's comment, and they said, when I tell you Butler, Pennsylvania is corrupt, but nobody wants to listen after today's events, maybe people will start listening. Now, I don't know what that comment's about. Then here highlighted in red, we see that Darcy makes a comment and she says, too bad they weren't a better shooter. That's pretty vile. I agree. It is vile. And somebody else responds to her and says, for a person to wish another dead is what is corrupt and evil. Why think like that? Darcy doubles down. She said, he is the definition of corrupt and evil. The person responds to her and says, what in the actual effing hell? You can go F yourself, you effing ignorant piece of crap. So that's the exchange that happened. That's what caused this man to go in and perform an abortion on the First Amendment by making this, by saying, we're going to make this woman famous. And by golly, here's a video. We hunted her down. We're going to show the whole world. And they're going to take care of it. Hold on for a second. So this is the issue that I have, is that, okay, well, let me back up actually. Because I saw some people and they were like, hey, their attitude is like, we got to get them before they get us. Like they've been canceling us. So we got to get them. Well, here's the thing. It's not activist versus activist here. You got activists on the left. They'll go out, they'll find something that they don't like, and then they will get that person canceled. They'll gather up all their numbers. And then the same thing happens with the opposing side, right? The opposing side, they come along and they say, oh, okay, well, if that's that game you're going to play, then the right wing, them folks will do it. Well, guess what? The people that are getting fired are not the activist. It's regular people who are collateral. Like it's like I highly doubt. Now I don't have evidence for it, but I highly doubt that Darcy is an activist online that's hunting down people and getting them canceled. She's just a regular American who has an opinion about something that you don't like. And trust me, I don't like it either. In my opinion, you're not really a good person if you wish death upon somebody. Now, on the other hand, I realize that there's a lot of things that people can say about our politicians, and they should be absolutely free to. And we should enjoy that kind of a society where basically anything and everything can be said about our elected officials. And if you go back and you look look at some of the protests that people had, I mean, you've got effigies, burning effigies of people who are like our presidents and whatnot. You have, people will show up to protest and they'll have guillotines, and we'll all say like, "Oh, that's freedom of speech. That nothing should happen to them. Like maybe I don't like it, but that's okay." But then some woman who works as a cashier at Home Depot, that's the one that you go after, that woman. That's how you're going to make a free society? BS. You're not making a free society. All you're doing is punishing people, regular, everyday, average people, for having an opinion and dare saying it out loud that you don't like. And the consequence of that is that one day you may be next. Because sure, you can justify it today and you can say, well, today, I don't agree with somebody saying those kind of horrible things. How dare you? Right? But then tomorrow, somebody pushes that line just a little further and says, well, I know you included this, but this should be included as well. And this, this new thing, so maybe a little bit less is dramatic, right? But it's dramatic to somebody else. See, that's the thing. When we set these kind of precedents, people push the boundaries. And they say, well, maybe if you include that, we should include this. And then somebody else comes along and says, well, if we included that, then we should include this. And it is a spiral down the bottom. Where how has that phrase go? It is a fight to the bottom, a race to the bottom. That's what it ends up being. Now the story's not over, because here's what ended up happening. Let me pull this up here. Let me pull Twitter up. I want to show you something. So, how did I find out about this in the first place? Well, our lovely friends, Libs of TikTok. And I say that sarcastically. I'm no longer like, I have them on mute. I mean, I don't think I'm following them, but I have them on mute just because I've started to notice that Libs of TikTok is taking almost an enjoyment of this. That are going and finding people that say things online, and they're rallying their troops. They're doxing them. Here we got Libs of TikTok saying, do I have that up on the screen? Yeah, I do have it on the screen. Okay. Hi, Home Depot. Are you aware that you employ people who call for political violence and the assassination of presidents? Any comment? I like how they put assassination and they like didn't spell out the whole word. Like, yeah, you're a champion of free speech, but then you self-censor on a simple word like assassination. Like you couldn't say the word assassination. What does that say? If you like, oh, well, you're worried about the algorithm, then maybe you should fight the algorithm instead of fighting some woman who's working as a cashier who has absolutely no power. Zero. This woman has no power whatsoever. But that's who Libs of TikTok has decided to go after. So here's what ended up happening. Paul says, no way this woman should have a job at Home Depot or any company after this. She should be investigated. Investigated? For what? For having a bad opinion, Paul? So ridiculous. Do better, Home Depot. I mean, he's acting as if Home Depot went out and said, you know what? Let's find us somebody that has execrable opinions online and let's hire them. So then Home Depot comes along and they say, this is Home Depot's account. They say, hi, this individual's comment don't reflect the Home Depot or our values. I assume they mean doesn't, but whatever. We can confirm she no longer works at the Home Depot. Oh, so the woman got fired from her job, which was paying her bills? Let me ask you folks, which is worse? Unemployment or somebody online saying unpleasant things? Which one would you rather? Like, you know what happens on unemployment, right? People need services. They don't pay their bills, or they have trouble paying their bills. Maybe they file bankruptcy. All of that so people can feel better and say, yeah, we got them. We got the left. No, you didn't. All you did was get some woman fired. And now she's going to have to try and find another job. And I don't know what skill set she has. Maybe she doesn't have a lot of skill sets. Maybe cashiers are best. Are we back? That was wild. I don't know what happened. I think my internet dropped on me. So give me a second while I get connected back. Screen froze. There we go. Sound died here. Maybe it did get canceled. Um, it looks like I didn't get canceled. I think it just was a weird fluke with the internet. I don't even know. But if somebody in the comments could do me a nice favor and just say, "Hey, what was tell me what the last thing I was saying so I know where to go, where I know to I can know where to pick up from." So if somebody would do that, that would be ever so kind. Let me see. I'm trying to get some things set back up here. We should be good to go in just a moment, folks. I do apologize. That was really weird. I don't think it was anything. I think it's just a regular, technology issue. So let's see here, and let's get this one last thing so I can see everything. Getting my screens all set up. So give me just a moment. We'll be right back, and I will continue going on. Let's see. You were talking about when the woman got fired, Home Depot's statement. So we will go back to that. Let me pull that back up on the screen. So here is Home Depot's statement. It said, "Hi, this individual's comments don't reflect the Home Depot or our values. We can confirm she no longer works at Home Depot." So this is okay. So let me see if I can get back into the frame of where I was. I apologize, folks. Okay, so this is a problem for me because I don't know who this woman is, but just from the video, it suggests to me that she's a regular everyday cashier who goes to work, does her job. I assume she does her job well, but I don't really know. I can't say. But what I can say is that I have a problem with this idea that Home Depot thinks it's okay for someone to go in the store and berate their employees on camera, rush off to the internet, and then go tell the whole world and say, you guys need to contact Home Depot and get this woman fired because she said something unpleasant on the internet. Well, this isn't even fighting the culture war. This is just demeaning people. This is just being a jerk. That's all this is. There is no value in this. The culture war that you think you're fighting, that you haven't made any ground. There's no reason to have this woman fired unless she does a bad job. Like, she's a cashier, and I'm not trying to demean cashier. It's a respectable, like any job that you go to that somebody pays you to do and you do in accordance with what you agreed to do. Like, that's a respectable job, right? Like, I don't care what it is, but we have to be honest. There is a huge difference between a cashier and a CEO. Okay. A cashier, anybody can fill that role, but that role does in fact pay bills. It keeps you alive, right? Like, it keeps you, maybe she had health insurance with Home Depot. I don't really know. But now she has none of that. Now this woman who probably does not have a lot of skill sets to draw upon, she has to go and find new work now. Thanks a lot, libs of TikTok. You did a great job there. Woo, culture warrior you. The leader of TikTok once sat down with, who's that girl's name? The Washington Post journalist. That's what you want to call her. Like, that was where she was once upon a time, right? Fighting that fight, fighting people that have a voice, that have some level of power to influence our society. She sat down with her, but now they're just going after everyday folks. Well, that's unacceptable. And I'm going to take it a little further. And I'm going to say it's absolutely unacceptable for that man. And I'm going to presume that he actually is a soldier or was a service member. It is absolutely unacceptable for him to use his military service in that manner. I find that highly offensive, and we all should. The moment he said, I am a service member, I was in the service, that should have been the moment we all tuned out and said, oh no, buddy, no. We have this term that we call stolen valor, when someone claims to be in the military or they exaggerate their service. We should also have another one where we call it abusive valor. If you as a soldier feel that it's your duty to come back and police what people say under the guise of, I am a veteran, you're a terrible veteran. And we should call you out. And we should say, that's abusive valor. That's not why you signed. Did you sign up in this country to go to war potentially and maybe not come home so that you could come home and get people fired from home? That's what your service is about. That's not what mine was about. I got another video clip here. This is kind of a related issue. In 2018, we had something similar happen here in Jacksonville. I'm gonna play this clip. It's a couple of minutes. I'm just going to play the whole thing through. Anybody that's from Jacksonville that's watching, you might remember this. Anybody that's outside of Jacksonville, it may be new to you, but I'm going to play this for you. And then I'm going to read to you my response that I made. This was actually in 2018. There was an issue here. So let's play this media clip and you can, and then we'll continue discussing this issue.
Tonight, a story that is sparking outrage here in Jacksonville and spreading. Newly obtained surveillance video shows the city inspector issue a warning citation to a local business for flying military flags. In the past few hours, the city has responded to this incident. Employees at Jaguar Power Sports on the West Side say that the inspector was so disruptive and disrespectful to this customer, who was a veteran, that they asked her to leave.
And News4Jax reporter Eric Avanier is live outside that store to explain how it all started and why that inspector's job may be on the line. Eric.
Well, it all started around noon when City Inspector Melinda Power walked into this store and issued a written warning citation to the owner because she says these military flags that you see posted on the roof here are in violation of a city code. That, of course, sparked a heated exchange of words between the inspector and a customer who just also happened to be a military veteran. When news of what happened went viral, that's when Mayor Curry chimed in on Twitter and showed his support for both the business and the flags. This surveillance video shows City Inspector Melinda Power walking into Jaguar Power Sports and issuing a written warning citation. Employees say the store received a warning for illegal display of flags on the roof. The rooftop display includes 2 U.S. flags, a Jacksonville Jaguar flag, and flags representing each branch of the military. This is a copy of the citation warning. Marcy Moyer is the store manager.
We cater to our men and women, both retired and active in the military. So it was kind of personal. Felt like it was a bit of a personal attack.
A personal attack that got even more personal when employees say the warning caused the customer to be upset. That customer seen in the left side of your screen is a military veteran who thought it was wrong to force store managers to take down the military flags. At one point, Power is seen getting in the man's face.
And she says, "So what did you do for this country?" And he says, "Well, I took 3 bullets to the leg. I almost lost my leg for this country. Like I'm retired. I'm a veteran." And she gets in his face about this close and she says, "You did nothing from this country."
The way that she handled the situation was just terrible.
Managers say despite this warning citation, these flags are not going anywhere soon. News of what happened.
All right. That's enough to give you a sense of what happened. This was in 2018. In 2018, an inspector went out and she got into it, right? And she stepped in it and she was wrong. Okay. Let's not mistake. Now, was she wrong about the citation? I don't know about that. It's been so long. I don't really remember what the actual code is. And in my opinion, I say that it shouldn't have been part of the code in the first place. Like if you have a business, you should be able to put up whatever flags that you want and the city shouldn't be able to say anything about it. Right. So if they want to put 1 flag up or 10 flags up, whatever. I have no issue with that. But I would probably object to the idea that we need to send out people to go look for these minor infractions. But that's a separate issue. The big issue is that she allegedly, and this is somebody's testimony, and I have no reason to believe they're lying, but she allegedly got into a man's face and said, "You did nothing for this country." Like that, she totally handled that poorly. And if she had been fired, it wouldn't have necessarily been a problem. The issue that I'm going to get to the issue of like, okay, when can we fire somebody? When can we not? Right. And in this particular case, I don't have an issue if the business would have called up and said, "Whoa, your inspector was extremely rude and you need to do something about this." Right. Because that is the store for which she was in. Right. The very party that was involved is calling and making a complaint. That's appropriate. Okay. And what the woman said was not appropriate. So therefore, if she got fired for it or reprimanded in some way, it would be appropriate. But I want to read you my response because the same thing that's happening now, if you go back and you look at all the responses to this video clip of the woman who is being challenged by some veteran, a lot of people are congratulating. They're like, "Yeah, this is awesome," kind of whatever. And there's all these comments like, "She should never work ever again." And I'm like, okay, well, do you want to pay her bills? Because I don't, because that's what happens when people aren't working. They have to have money for things like housing, food, transportation. And I don't want her on welfare. She might be on welfare now. So this idiot veteran, and I'm going to use strong language on purpose, this idiot veteran has now made me potentially part of it, or at least the people in her city. I think it's in New York. So yeah, we should be fighting mad over this. But let me read you what I said because I think, where did it go here? Yeah, there we go. All right, pull this up. So here's what I said on Reddit back in that time. And I said, this is 6 years ago. I said, this story and the many comments over social media struck a chord with me, and not in the way many might expect. She certainly was out of line. However, I would have hoped my service time would not be used as fodder to call for someone to be fired simply because they were discourteous. I find it alarming that we as a society are becoming more and more comfortable calling for others' jobs. What goes around comes around. Maybe you weren't or wouldn't be rude to a service member, but you most likely have said or done something to offend some group at some point. The America I served is not supposed to elevate one group above another, not even service members. We're all supposed to be equal. I joined the military and even served in Bosnia-Herzegovina because I thought it was the right thing to do, because I wanted to serve my country, not for excessive praise then or now. I served so that others may enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I served to keep this country a place where people can be free, even to make mistakes, especially when they make mistakes. It is when we make mistakes, we learn the most. Oops. What did I do there? Up, go back. Get back. I lost. Went to the wrong place. All right. How about that? All right. Across social media, I see much anger, but no grace. Is that really the America I served? Is that what freedom means? Yeah, she was insulting, and yes, she deserves reprimanded. She also deserves pity and grace. For in that, will she come face to face with her own ill feelings? And when she does, I hope there's an America with arms wide open like the prodigal son. If the America I served uses my service to tear at each other, hanging it over the heads of others, then I wish I hadn't. I could have saved myself the trouble and let them tear away anyway. Other service members may differ, and that's fine. As for me, if you want to respect my service, then do so without tearing each other down. Do so by reaching out to your neighbor, especially when they aren't reaching back. That's when they need it most, and what really makes this country great. Now, I'm again 6 years later now defending somebody who said something terrible. And I will defend every single person that says something terrible when we have mobs that are going after them. Because that is not how America was supposed to be. Now, let me bring up a comment here. This is a good comment from Brian. It says, "Do you think that people should be responsible for their statements? I don't think she should be fired, but it seems that people in general don't think before posting." So that brings up a good, a lot of people like to say, well, you have freedom of speech, just not freedom from consequences. But I think that's an excuse. That's an excuse for people to just go and bully other people. That's all that is. Here's where that actually should play, or how it should play out, right? What we should expect to see is that if your company finds out by happenstance that you've done something, then they can make an internal decision on what they want to do with it. So if I'm working for Home Depot as a cashier, and then I get online and I say, oh, well, that's too bad that the attempted assassination was only an attempt and it wasn't, it didn't play out all the way through and a big fat win, right? Like, too bad the shooter missed. If I say that, and then Home Depot, maybe another employee says, man, look at DL over here. He's got pictures of him at work at Home Depot, and he's posting stuff like this. And let's say they bring it up to management and say, hey, maybe you want to have a talk with DL so that people don't associate his comments with our brand. And so then the company brings me in and says, DL, we see this tweet or this comment on Facebook. We need to have a conversation about it. You need to delete it, and we need to make sure that we're not seeing any more things like this. That's an acceptable path. Or even if they wanted to fire me and say, like, look, DL, we found it, right? Because again, It's limited to people that are like somewhat involved in the story. Libs of TikTok, they're not involved in this. I doubt that anybody that reached out to Home Depot, I doubt that any of them are even in that same state, let alone that city, let alone have actually interacted with the woman. I mean, if you remember from the video, the man walks in, he goes, "Are you so-and-so?" And she's like, "Yes, I am." And I think she corrects him because of like there's a last name difference or something like that. She's like, "Yes, I was that person, but now I'm somebody else. I've got a different last name." And he's like, "Oh, and so you think this is okay to say?" And it's too bad that somebody else didn't know this man was going to do that, because if I had been there and I had known about this, maybe I would have took the camera on the man and I would say, "Hey man, do you think this is okay to be a jerk and come in here and try to get somebody fired? You're going to make somebody famous because you don't like them using their freedom of speech to even say terrible things. That who you are, that the America you served so that you could bully some cashier. That's why all these soldiers died in foreign wars, so that we could bully a cashier out of a job. The hell is wrong with you? Maybe I'll try to make you famous." I mean, I probably can't, because to be honest, we have a problem in this country. In our country is that we give so much lenience to somebody as soon as they say they're a veteran. And we don't want to push back and say, "No, that's wrong. You're abusing your service. That's unacceptable. And we will call you out." That's the America that we should have. We should have an America that goes to libs of TikTok and says, "This is garbage. Stop getting people fired." And they're like, I think I saw a couple of them come up yesterday. It was bizarre. I was like, holy wow. Like this, like I've not really followed libs of TikTok for a long time now. I mean, I've kind of loosely followed. I'll see them pop up. It used to be that I would watch a libs of TikTok video and I was like, "Oh, wow, this is crazy. Look at all these psycho teachers that are out there. They want to talk to my kid about gender and they don't seem to be interested in teaching them about reading, but they want to talk about gender. And they're weird and they have this crazy hair and they've got like 40 piercings in their face. And all they can seem to talk about is gender and how some kid affirmed some toddler or whatever affirmed their gender." And at first I was like, wow, we need to do something about all these people. But then I realized there's a real problem with that. And the problem is that I was starting to have my perception of the world around me distorted, because I started to realize, wait a minute, I'm getting this view that every teacher out there, like practically every teacher, is out there trying to genderize my child. And then I started, then what really kind of made it sink was when I started going to different schools to check out for my son. My son is 5 now and he's going to school. And my wife and I were going to different schools and checking them out and having conversations with the teachers. And we were walking into the classrooms while the classrooms were going on. I could see the teachers and the staff in like all of these schools are just normal people. And I realized they're not like pink-haired, crazy, pierced up people. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just, kind of highlighting the appearance that libs of TikTok was highlighting, which gave me this perspective that there were all these pink, blue-haired people with piercings in their face that were demanding, like kids affirm their gender. And then it turned out, I realized, no, that's not. I don't actually know a single one in real life. And I'm not saying they're not there. They are there. We live in a country of 300 some million people. Yeah, there's going to be some people that are weird. And there's going to be some people that are distasteful. So what kind of society do we want? Well, I want one where, yeah, maybe I see some crazies on the internet, but we get this balance and we say, that's not real life. It's not the real world. So I ended up like not really following libs of TikTok, because I was like, they're discoloring my view of the world. And then we get on there and now now, in my opinion, libs of TikTok is doing another disservice, because now they're normalizing this idea that it's okay to go out and get people fired because they said something stupid on social media. You should be able to say something stupid on social media any bit as much as you should be able to say something stupid in the, in the real world. And the consequences need to be the minimum amount necessary. And they need not be a mob of people coming after you, because today it's calling for, it's being sad that the attempted assassination of the president failed. Yeah, today it's that. Tomorrow, what is it? What is it tomorrow? Oh, you think that it'll just stay that way? Well, here, let me show you how it won't. Let me pull something up from 2014. This is old. I'm old. I remember some things. So let me pull this up here real quick. Where's my there we go. This is a news article from 2014 out of USA Today. You may or may not remember this. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can read it a bit better here. How about that? There we go. Mozilla CEO resignation raises free speech issues. It's published in April of 2014. The resignation of Mozilla's CEO amid outrage that he supported an anti-gay marriage campaign is prompting concerns about how Silicon Valley's strongly liberal culture might quash the very openness that is the region's foundation. Mozilla co-founder Brendan Eich stepped down Thursday as CEO just after his appointment. He left the nonprofit maker of the Firefox browser after furious attacks, largely on Twitter, over his $1,000 contribution to support of a now overturned 2008 gay marriage ban in California. There was no interest in creating an internet lynch mob. OkCupid co-founder Sam Yagoon, whose dating service site was among those engaged in online protests, said Friday, "I'm opposed to that with every bone of my body." But Ike's abrupt departure has stirred the debate over the fairness of forcing out a highly qualified technology executive over his personal views and a single campaign contribution 6 years ago. It raises questions about how far corporate leaders are allowed to go in expressing their political views. So here's what happened. Back in 2014, they were there. He got boosted to CEO, and somebody dug in and said, "Wait a minute, you one time gave $1,000 political contribution over Proposition 8 in California because you oppose gay marriage. Like, we can't have that as a CEO. No way. That's big deal, man, because you're representing all these people." And I remember there were so many people from Mozilla, and I wish I had the tweets, but I remember seeing people would get on and they were like, "I am so angry right now. I'm shaking," because he gave a contribution. But here's the catch. At the time, I opposed it. And I said, I don't from what I can tell, the news stories that I was reading at the time when this furor was happening, what I could tell was a lot of people were like, "I didn't know he even had those views." And I'm like, "Oh, really? You didn't know what the CEO of the company you work for believed?" Because some of his peers were saying this. They were like, "I didn't know he held these views." I'm like, that's exactly what you want. You want somebody that's going to come to work, do their job, and be good at it. That's what you want. And people didn't know his personal views. They had no idea until somebody unearthed this contribution that he gave, which, by the way, contributing politically with your money is considered free speech. But the kicker is, at the time, people told me, they said, "Well, this is important because it's a CEO. It's not like he's a regular everyday employee." That's what people told me, 2014, that it was okay because he needs to be held to a different standard. Well, guess what? Now we're holding the cashier accountable. The cashier who was almost certainly not one of the warriors. And, this is a point that I made on Twitter yesterday when I was making some comments. I said, the problem that we have here is that it's not, when people say we got to get them before they get us, The people that you're getting are not the activists. You have activists out there that are rallying themselves together. You have leftist activists, you have right-wing activists. The leftist activists, they'll rally together and they'll go in mob force and they'll say, hey, you got to fire this guy because, he gave a contribution here or whatever the case is, right? They do their mob after somebody. That person receives whatever punishment that they get for wrong speak effectively. And then you have the right wing. They're like, oh, well, if you're going to come after us, we're coming after you. The problem is the right wing, when they come after somebody, just like the left wing, they're not going after the activists. The activists aren't getting fired. It is regular people that are getting fired. So the activists are safe. You're not teaching anybody a lesson other than, hey, sucks to be you. Hey, this is your America now. The one where if you say something dumb on social media, activists who are going to war at each other will come after you. And that's the message they'll send. And so a lot of people are like, yeah, we got to do this until the activists learn. Well, the activists aren't learning. But regular everyday people are. So kudos to you on your crappy culture war fight that you're not even winning. You didn't get Taylor Lorenz fired for saying crazy things. Nope, she still got a job. But yeah, you took out the Home Depot person. Hooray. You should be embarrassed. And if you're a service member and you're using your prior service to get people fired, you should be embarrassed and we should laugh at you. We should point the finger. We should bully the hell out of you. Because I'll be damned if I went to Bosnia in 2002, a country that at the time was known to have the most landmines in the entire world of any country from their war, and I waltzed around doing what I thought was the right thing to do for my country. I'll be damned if I did that. Could have been blown up from making the wrong step. I'll be damned if I stay silent while some other alleged service member uses our respect for the military to get everyday average people fired as if they're now serving their country again. You're not. You're serving yourself. You should be embarrassed, and we should call you out. And if that gets me canceled, well, so be it. But I doubt it because I'll just find some other way to raise my voice. That's just what I do. So go ahead. Cancel me for talking trash about a fellow service member. He deserved it. And I wish we knew who he was, because I would say, hey, this is Fred Jones from so-and-so. Call him trash. I would, because it's disgusting. And it's every bit an abortion. An abortion, it kills a living human being. And that's what we're doing when we get people fired. We're not killing a human being. That's sort of. But you are killing free speech. Why would we care so much about bringing new life if we're just going to turn around and subject them to that kind of behavior from our fellow citizens? Who are we if we do that? What kind of society are we building? Oh, yay, I saved babies. I stopped abortion so that they could grow up and get fired from Home Depot from some jackass who thought he was better than them. That man was no different than the woman in the video who was like, what did you do for your country? Actually, I take it back. He's worse. The true test of your commitment to freedom of speech is when people say things you don't like. Now, this woman wasn't making an actual threat for which would need to be addressed. She was just making an offhanded comment because she dislikes the president. Okay, lots of people dislike the president. I don't personally think that you should use your dislike to get on social media and express, feelings for death. But hey, if you do, whatever. And if your company happens to find out about it, and then they want to reprimand you, or they want to determine whether or not they're going to keep employing you, that's fine. But it's not fine if we mob together and go and get people fired, because we're killing our own freedom of speech by doing that. Because all we're doing is we're taking out the low-hanging fruit. We're not even going after people that really, really need it, if there's even such a thing. Like, go after people with power. But we're not doing that. You know, it's funny. The right wing, all I heard for a couple of years, Fauci this, Fauci that, he needs to be punished. And I kind of agree. Like, we should be going after somebody like Dr. Fauci. But kind of can't do that if you're marshaling all your forces to go after the Home Depot cashier. Because apparently you're a failure when it comes to fighting the culture war, fighting the things that matter, you failed at. So you said, F it, we'll just go after the Home Depot lady. And there were a couple of other stories. I don't remember. That one stuck out and just made me so angry, because not only did a mob go get her fired, but it really made me angry. It makes me angry every time I see somebody chime in and say, well, as a veteran. So what you mean to say is, hey, I was a veteran, therefore you should treat me differently. You should see me differently. No, you shouldn't. You should see me as just a guy who did what he thought was the right thing to do. And if some tragedy came my way, then yes, be respectable and tell my family, you know, all the positive things that you believe about a service member, right? Like, that's fine. I have no issue there. But after that, when I come back, I'm not looking for special treatment, and neither should any other service member. And we should be very angry when we see this, because we value our service members. But we should hold them to a standard and say, hey, look, no. That's not how we're doing this. We'll respect you because we value the fact that you voluntarily were willing to put your life on the line, but we're not going to respect you if you're going to use that to just bully other people. We can do better. And that's not what America's about. And the moment you try to make it about that, we're going to call you out. And we should call out libs of TikTok for doing it. We should call out people on the left, because it was wrong in 2014 when this happened to a CEO. It's wrong today, 10 years later, when it's happening to a cashier at a local store that just needs to go to work, pay her bills, and occasionally mouth off on the internet. Fine. Ignore the comment, move along. Or if you want, respond and be like, hey, I think you're a terrible person. Respond back to her and say, you know what? I hope you fall down and hit your head. I mean, don't do that, actually. I think that's poor form. But my point being, use your freedom of speech. But it's not freedom of speech to get somebody fired. That's an abuse. That's bullying. And I don't want to get fired for something that I say that somebody else didn't like just because they happen to have the numbers behind them. So I'm not going to stand for it when somebody else does it. And I don't care that libs of TikTok is bigger. I'll call them out when I see it. I'll call out veterans when I see it. And I'll say, you're a good for nothing veteran if that's how you're going to behave after your service. I wish you hadn't. That's all I got to say. Check out the comments here. Let's see. I have to check all comments now because I keep getting in trouble. Let's see here. What do we got? Gonna look at some comments here. Brian again here. I agree on the military service moniker. I served for 25 years and I don't think that makes me better than anyone else. I agree. I'm not better. Like, we might have internal jokes with the military, like, oh, I served. Did you get deployed? Or you're just a chairborne ranger? You know, all these things. Yeah, that's fine. That's, you know, a little internal ribbing. That's fine. Give people a hard time. That's okay. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I came back and my service ended. And now I'm a regular, everyday, average person. That's it. I am the Home Depot woman because the mob could come after me. They could dig up and find out who my employer is and says, well, DL, he called it an abortion for a military member to talk about his service. Can you believe that? Company X that he works for? They could come after me. But somebody has to make a stand at some point. That's part of being an American, is looking out for each other and saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, they were wrong. That's not the right way to handle it. Because we value our freedom so much that we would rather have detestable speech than people silencing themselves because they're afraid of the mob. There's no, like, land of the free, home of the brave. Unless you got something to say that's detestable, then you can't be so brave because somebody else may marshal forces together to get you fired. That's not the America I know. It's not the America I want. And I will fight like hell to make sure that's not the America we have. And I hope you do too. All right, folks, that is my show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you found it informative and inspiring. Be sure to catch me Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. for an informed discussion on politics and culture. Make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel, providing that I don't get canceled after this episode. But subscribe to them. You can go to youtube.libertydad.com or you can go to rumble.libertydad.com. While you're there, let me know how I'm doing by leaving me a comment. Last but not least, remember, I love this quote today. This is my little tagline. I love it. I love it so much today. If you are a champion of liberty, your business is people. Your product is liberty. Sell more liberty, not less. Have a great week. Catch you next time. But for now, I'm out.